Hey everybody, Shane here from VidGamiac.com. Here we are today in part 8 of our walkthrough of Genesis Noir as we're going for the next achievement. Make sure you have that USB keyboard plugged in and make sure you hit up the title menu. Make sure you punch in the Control, Shift, and L key at the same time to open up the Dev menu. What you want to do is want to make sure you select the level this achievement is located in. So make sure you go to Select Level, go to Mars, go to Select Start At, and make sure you pick Ending. Now, this particular checkpoint can be a little problematic. If you ever get stuck in an infinite loading screen trying to select this checkpoint, you are going to have to back out of the game and delete your save. Once you boot the game back up after deleting your save, you should be good to go in terms of loading it up. And don't worry too much about losing your progress, as you can sequence skip thanks to the Dev menu. So the game should put you right here with this matchbook. What you want to do is want to make sure you pull one of the matches out and make sure you strike it, and then that's going to start the sequence. Even though this is going to be an ending checkpoint, you are going to have to do a ton of puzzles for this one. So this one is going to be quite frustrating, and you are going to have to be very careful if you do plan on using the fast forward, especially when around the puzzles. So feel free to hit the left bumper to fast forward through this opening cutscene, but if you ever get to a gameplay part where you are in control of the cursor, make sure you undo your fast forward immediately, as you do not want the game to freeze, causing you to back out to the main menu. And if for whatever reason you do have to load this level back up again using the Dev menu, that's what is going to often cause the infinite loading screen glitch, which means you are going to have to back out of the game completely, delete your save, and then retry the Dev menu. So make sure you try to avoid that the best you can by not messing up on any of the puzzles and making sure you turn off the fast forwards whenever you do have control of the game. So your first gameplay part should be right here. Make sure you click on the swirly in the bottom right. That's always going to take you to the next gameplay part where you are out here in this laboratory. You're going to start out with this part. Make sure you grab control of the cursor, and you want to make sure you click on this blinking box in the back, which is going to be this lunar rover, and then a bunch of computer equipment. You're basically going to bring that to your desk. You can fast forward through those little transition bits, but make sure you turn off the fast forward whenever you actually have to do some gameplay parts. Click on the monitor to start the first puzzle. Definitely turn off your fast forward during these segments. Your goal for these puzzles is to adjust every single one of the modules in a correct way in order to get this light to light up on the bottom. What you want to do for this first set is you want to make sure you grab these two dials right here at the bottom part and make sure you move them so they're in the middle. Then make sure you grab this slider, then move it all the way to the right, and then grab this dial and then make sure you move it all the way over to the bottom right. That should get the light to light up. Press the button, and then that should take you to the next part. Again, feel free to fast forward during these transition cutscenes. Once you get to the next bit, make sure you click on the swirly in the bottom right to move on to the next lab part. Once you are here, the trigger to start the next puzzle is going to be the chalk at the bottom of the chalkboard. It should be glowing gold, so you shouldn't be able to miss it. Click on that, and then you are basically going to get the next cutscene. Feel free to fast forward through this if you don't care. And then once you are able to click on the monitor, make sure you do so. Turn off your fast forward, and then it's on to the second monitor puzzle. Make sure you move the two dials to the middle, and then what you want to do is make sure you keep the slider to the right. Make sure you turn this dial to the bottom right again. Then we have a fourth thing we have to deal with this dial. Make sure that's pointing up. Then finally, you're going to have this slider, which you want to make sure that's going to be slightly above the midpoint, and that should get the button to light up. Make sure you press that, and then we're going to fast forward through this part. Once we get to the next option, make sure you click on the spiral in the bottom right, and that should transition us to the next laboratory part. For this one, what you want to do is want to make sure you click on the flask, and then that's going to trigger the next segment. Again, feel free to fast forward through the cutscene because these are going to take super long. So just make sure you get through that the best you can, and then once you are back in control, back at the lab, make sure you click on the monitor, turn off your fast forward at this point, and then it's time for the next monitor puzzle. So again, make sure the two dials are going to be in the middle. Then make sure the slider is going to be to the right. This dial is going to go to the bottom right. Then you want to make sure you grab this dial. This one is going to point to the left, and then make sure you grab the slider. This one's going to go slightly above the middle, and then finally you're going to have the dial up top. Make sure this one is a third of the way over from the left. That should get the button to light up. Make sure you press that, and then it's going to be on to another one of those transition scenes. Again, feel free to fast forward through this. And of course, once you get the choice, make sure you always click on the spiral in the bottom right. Same old, same old. Then get back to the lab and make sure you click on the trigger for the next puzzle. This particular one is going to be the satellite dish right here on the carpet. Make sure you click on that. Fast forward through the transition until the monitor starts glowing, and then click on the monitor for the next monitor puzzle. Very important that you turn off the fast forward forward and then on to the next one. Dials both in the middle again. Make sure the slider is to the far right up top. The dial up here is going to face the bottom right. This dial is going to go to the left. Slider slightly above the middle. Then what you want to do is go up top and then grab this dial. This one's going to go about this far from the left, so maybe about 20% or 2 notches. Then this dial is going to point to the right. Once the thing lights up, make sure you press that light button, and then we're going to get the next transition. Same old, same old. Feel free to fast forward through this. Once you get the choice, make sure you pick the spiral in the bottom right. Then it's going to be back to the lab to click on the next glowing thing. Click on the next glowing thing, skip past the cutscene with the fast forward, and then make sure you keep going until you can click on the monitor. Make sure you click on the glowing monitor, and then make sure you move on to the next monitor puzzle, making sure you turn off the fast forward right before you do anything with the puzzle. Alright, this one, make sure you move those 2 dials to the middle again. Make sure the slider is going to be to the far right up top. Make sure the dial next to that, instead of going to the bottom right this time, this one's going to go to the bottom left. So slight adjustment right here. And then once we get that, we're going to move on down here. This dial is going to point upwards, and then we're going to grab the slider. This one's going to go slightly above the middle, so make sure you drag that down a little bit. And then you want to make sure you go up top right here. Grab this dial. This one is going to go about 2 notches from the right, and then make sure you press the upper right button right here. This dial is going to point to the upper left right here. And then finally, you're going to grab the topmost slider right here and then move it about 2 notches from the left, and that should get the button to light up. Make sure you press that, and then we should be wrapped up with our last monitor puzzle, thankfully. Make sure you fast forward through the next cutscene, and then again, once you get to the choice bit, make sure you click on that spiral on the bottom right, and instead of doing another laboratory bit, we should move on to the next cutscene. Feel free to fast forward through all this stuff. You definitely want to turn off the fast forward once you get to this scene, because having the fast forward on is going to mess things up very badly. So make sure you keep it off the whole time. Just make sure you click on the spiral until it breaks into a bunch of segments, then you're supposed to put it back together jigsaw puzzle style, so make sure you take care of that. Once this cutscene is over, you're going to get back to the spiral, and you're supposed to reassemble it. You definitely want to make sure you keep the fast forward off here, as having it on is going to severely mess up the physics, and what's going to happen when you pick up a piece is it's going to go flying off screen, and you aren't able to get it back. It's going to really suck messing this part up because you left the fast forward on and have to go back all the way to the beginning and redo all those monitor puzzles. So try to avoid that. Leave the fast forward off, and then just put together the puzzle slowly, but eventually. It should be really easy since it's just a swirl and the pieces can only go in one way. So just make sure you take your time with this one, reassemble the swirl, and then once you have this, you are just going to do one last thing, which is to light up the swirl. So once you get through to the next part, you are going to basically light up the swirl. You do that by clicking all of the lighter colored parts, so make sure you click on all of the white parts, and when the whole thing is gold, that's going to be when it starts glowing. So just go around the whole thing, you can start at either end, and make sure you just get this thing all one color, which is going to be the golden yellowy color. So just make sure you do that, very easy, and then once it starts glowing, you should be able to move on to the next part. You have a cutscene here, you can turn the fast forward on, turn the fast forward off once you see this finger, and then just drag the finger to the swirl. You should poke it, and then you have a little bit of a wait. You can fast forward through this part, thankfully. You should be done with all of the interactable bits for now. And then once you get to this part, fast forward off, make sure you click on the journal, and then you're going to thumb through the pages. Just make sure you keep pulling this all the way until you get to the rightmost page. And then once this is over, that should wrap it up. Your character should stow that away, pull out his hand, click on a very familiar spiral to end things, and then once you get to the transition, you can feel free to fast forward through that, but your achievement should pop in the load up for the next segment. There it is, 70 gamer score and one of the longer parts out of the way. Check back soon next time for the next part, but that's it for now, and that's all there is to it.